Welcome to Balanced Reflections. I'm Lightning Rider. Here we explore mindset mastery, travel transformations, and the art of alchemy. Join me on a wild ride around the world and into the mind, because when you change your mind, you change your world. In the heart of Lake Nicaragua rises an island of two giants, Ometepe. Archaeologists say people have lived here since at least 1500 BC. Some say the island carries its own vibration. What we can definitively say is that we felt oppressive, relentless heat. We experienced many moments on the island, including caring for a pregnant cat, a misleading river paddle looking for crocodiles, a volcano so active that it erupted on us, and some news that was dangerously close to ending our overseas adventures. Make sure you stick around to the end, because like Cypress Hill said, we ain't going out like that. We were trading Bohemian beachside for fresh water and black sands, gifts of Volcan Madreas and Concepcion. The latter looms over the island, dominating the horizon, and becomes the focal point on the voyage from the mainland. The ancient civilizations of Ometepe saw the volcanoes as living gods. In their tradition, Madreas was called the sacred place of the sun, and Concepcion the brother of the moon. Together, they made the island a promised land, a space between worlds where spirit and matter met. Interestingly, that flips what many of us have been taught. In most cultures, the sun is tied to the masculine and the moon to the feminine. The earliest settlers, dating back as far as 1500 BC, also believed this was the place where life itself began. Departing the ferry into the main town of Mayagaupa, we had entered a very different world. Simple, colourful, slow, and isolated. The island is covered in waterfalls that tumble through jungle, a hippie community tucked into the hillside, and villages surrounded by the most fertile soil in the country. Everything here grows exponentially, and maybe that's part of the energy I could feel. We stayed in a cabin about 2 kilometres from Mayagaupa, right on the lake. Getting to the shore, however, was a hazardous adventure in itself. Mangoes consistently crashing down from the trees. I'd never seen so many scattered across the ground. But with mango smoothies on tap every day, the juice was definitely worth the squeeze. The lake, however, offered no relief from the heat. I was surprised I didn't see William Gates with his sticky little fingers taking samples, bottling up more rhetoric for the next climate change crusade. This was a real hot tub time machine. There are a few places I may have set the dial. Before we left Australia, we had sold everything. I used my inheritance money from the passing of my grandparents to pay off my debts, pulled my super out and rolled it into a self-managed trust, investing in projects that looked promising. The idea was simple: build passive income to carry us while we migrated towards El Salvador. The closing of my grandparents' lives gave me the chance to begin a new version of my own. We had hedged our bets, played our hand, but on this island it was about to become clear that maybe I should have been listening to David Bayer and Kenny Rogers. Know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em. I was enjoying island life. The chaotic nature of growth was mirroring my mind and consciousness. But Jess was having a very different experience. It wasn't just the heat she was struggling with. She was the one holding the financial reins, and rightfully so. One Saturday over breakfast, she dropped the news that shifted everything. Long story short, the investments had turned out to be scams. The majority of our money was gone. In that moment, it felt like we were staring at checkmate. Game over, hasta luego. Jess had been carrying the weight of this alone, shielding me because she knew I was already straining under the pressures of learning to day trade. The cross was heavy, and it wasn't hers to bear alone. I felt for her deeply. But this is where David Bayer's teachings hit me like a lightning bolt. I've been studying his work on the powerful and primal states of being, and his words echo through my mind. Focus on what you can control and stay in your powerful state. I knew then somehow that everything was going to be okay. And right as we paid the breakfast bill, the universe sent us a message, loud and clear. Confirmation that we weren't alone in this storm. That night, we went home and started digging for options. El Salvador was put on hold. It was clear we needed somewhere cheaper, somewhere to regroup and reset. Jess's job was keeping us afloat, but that came with its own inherent set of challenges. We had to make a change, and that's actually how the path opened up for Mexico. Like David says, life is always reorganizing and shuffling the deck. When we learn to master our mind and emotions, new possibilities show up. Options we'd never notice if we'd stayed trapped in the primal state. Mexico wasn't the initial plan, but it was a doorway. It had opened and we needed to step through it. We were up shit creek, but we had a plan, a paddle, and each other. We were still floating. Tucked beneath the canopy lies Ojo de Agua, the eye of water, a natural spring born from the veins of the volcano, and unlike the lake, It was cool and clear, shimmering like liquid glass. Locals say the minerals here heal the body and refresh the spirit. It was needed. Nature is the purest expression of chaos. In jungles, forests, deserts and woods across the world, life stacks itself, species growing over, around and through one another. Patterns repeat in a colourful mess. Beneath the surface, every ecosystem plays its part in the cycle of life, death, growth and decay. What fascinates me is how we step into that chaos, bringing order, cutting, clearing, cultivating, shaping, building and experiencing this reality. When done with balance, we can co-create spaces where life thrives. But think how quickly nature begins to take back what we've built if we don't maintain a sense of balanced order. Our inner world also reflects the same principles, and we can learn a great deal from nature. The mind is a fertile garden. Seeds of thought will sprout whether we choose them or not. What we water and nurture becomes the fruit we live on. We need to bring order to our inherent chaos. Everything is conceived and born from the mind. The universe is mental. Next time you go into nature, reflect and observe. Life is a beautiful, colourful mess waiting for us to interact with. As above, so below. As within, so without. One day we had to walk into town so Jess could make an important phone call. The internet was out and the reason was about to reveal itself. As we set off, I noticed a fine mist in the air. A little strange, but we didn't think much of it as we walked and talked. Soon though we were covered in soot. Turns out there had been an eruption, the first since 2012. We kept pressing on because the call mattered, but the looks from the locals said it all. To them, we probably looked like insane in the Swain brain, strolling along dusted head to toe in volcanic ash, like we'd been styled in George Clooney's dandruff. The weight of that moment only grew in hindsight, and not that kind of 2020 hindsight from the beginning of the decade. Yes, that was an open jab. The only difference is, this one is transparent and wasn't forced. Because the very next weekend, we boarded a bus with one goal in mind, to climb the same volcano that had just covered us. Say hola to Volcan Concepcion and Jesse James from Ometepe.
Hey, Jesse James de Ometepe.
Oh shit, look out. The wild cowboy from Nicaragua.
Jesse had found us in a cafe the day before, right as we were debating which volcano to climb, Madreas or Concepcion. Madreas is extinct. Her crater cradles a lagoon often veiled in mist, wrapped in jungle mystery. Jesse leaned across the table and said Concepcion was the real climb, the giant, taller, meaner, and as last week proved, very much alive. From farmland to dry forest, through cloud cover and up into bare volcanic rock. 8 to 10 hours, steep and exposed with wind that can rip the breath in your lungs. If the sky clears, you get to see the whole island laid out beneath you. They were our choices. Jesse told us stories as we made the ascent, and he's got plenty. He does this climb at least 6 times a week, which is an incredible feat in itself. Concepcion tests not only the body but the mind. What really blew me away though, was hearing how he and his daughter were 2/3 of the way up, the very day the volcano erupted. His daughter tugged at him saying, Dad, it's vibrating." Moments later, the mountain let go and she legged it down the trail with Jesse right behind her. That is not a tale you forget. For us, reaching the summit was a huge accomplishment. The final stretch, the last 100 metres, was nothing but a brutal scramble over loose rock and ash, hands and feet clawing for grip, while the wind tried to return us to sender. Standing at the top was something else, the crater smoke below us, reminding us of how alive this giant really is and how fragile we are in comparison. We only had time for a couple of quick photos and a stolen glance at the view before swarms of insects began festing on our man flesh. Not your everyday garden variety bug either. For a moment, it felt less like Ometepe and more like we'd stumbled into Mordor. This was the first active volcano I'd ever climbed. Staring into its smoking core, I was reminded once again just how mortal we really are. The return of the trace was actually the hardest part for me. Jumping into the back of the ute, I was exhausted but happy. What I didn't realise then was how symbolic it all was. Our time on Ometepe wasn't just about climbing a volcano, it was about climbing through the adversity. Character is built in moments like these. Too often we only show the highlight reel, withhold the struggle to protect others, or out of fear of how it might be received. But unity is born from honesty. Vulnerability, when shared, becomes strength. For me, Ometepe was a place of growth and expansion, raw and magical. And honestly, how many people can say they've stood on an island in Central America, watched a volcano erupt and lived to tell the tale? Thanks for watching. I'm not subscribing to YouTube's algorithmic dictatorship, so your support is what really helps my channel grow. Gently click the like, drop a comment like it's hot, alert the subscribe button, and remember, sharing is caring. If you'd like to fuel the fire behind this work, there's a link below where you can buy me a figurative coffee. No rainbow swirled frappuccino with extra sprinkles here. Just a spark to keep this volcano rumbling. Your support might be the eruption that finally blows a new microphone into existence. You'll also find a link to my ebook, Keys to Mastery, where you can download your first key for free. Faster alone, further together. And when we change our minds, we change our worlds. I'm Lightning Rider, and I'll catch you in the next one.